Hello, everyone. Welcome to Todd Talks. I am joined here today with James Haeck. He is the lead writer at D&D Beyond. He's written many D&D books, including some on DM's Guild, and we are breaking down Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, including several of these really amazing subclasses that we are very excited for. And this is the Rune Knight. I actually got a chance to play test this when this was a sorcerer with Jeremy Crawford, so I have some sentimental attachment to the Rune Knight itself. I think it's one of the most diverse and easy to customize fighters around. Of course, next to the Battlemaster. But let's dive into the Rune Knight. These are knights who have learned how to basically scribe, to cut, to lay these runes onto their armor and their weapons that have ancient magic that came from giants. So you maybe learn this because you come from a family of rune cutters, or maybe you learn this from the giants themselves. Either way, you've learned to basically apply your magic using giant runes onto armor and onto weapons to customize the way you attack and how you interact with the world around you. Let's dive in to this concept.
I love warriors that can lay enchantments upon their own gear. I love to play Shulk in Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I love just being able to throw a temporary buff to change up the way that you fight just a little bit, because the simplicity of a fighter is very appealing. But the versatility of, say, an Eldritch Knight with a number of spells, or a Rune Knight who has runes they can just throw on there to change up the way you play just a little bit is quite appealing. So let's dive right into some of these cool abilities they get. First off, a very simple one: you gain proficiency with Smith's tools and can speak, read, and write giant. Perfect. Flavorful, not too much to go into there. Next up, though, is the meat, Rune Carver. You can use magic runes to enhance your gear. You start with 2 runes of your choice from a list that we'll go into. And every time you gain a level in this class, you can swap one of those runes out with another one. And as you gain levels at certain points, you permanently learn, or you gain more slots, essentially. You can learn more runes at a time. Starts with 2 at 3rd level, goes up to 3 at 7th, goes up to 4 at 10th, and to a maximum of 5 runes known at a time at level 15. It's a good selection.
Yeah, the selection is fantastic. This is very much, in almost a warlock way, how do I want to design this fighter?
Yeah, there's a certain sort of almost flavor of artificer to it as well, with the sort of enhancements that you lay upon gear.
It is artificer light.
It is somewhat artificer light, isn't it?
Yeah, it's and I adore it, and it's evocative in the sense that not only have you seen so many scenarios before, especially in supernatural films, you're sharpening your armor, you're suiting up, but also carving magical runes into your items, or creating magical items to fight demons or vampires or whatever. So the Rune Knight, I can see this big hulking Viking man with a long beard and a shaved head. Not me, or maybe me, and and just carving runes into their axe the day before a great battle. So it's very evocative. And again, we're seeing this interesting bit where these things can do more than one thing.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm enchanted by any story that delves into the magical power of words. And maybe that's a bit self-aggrandizing. I am a writer. Yeah. But anytime where, there's a story like in Earthsea or something where words have power or runes have power, you can, by speaking a phrase, kind of manifest thought into existence. I'm like, yes, give me more of that magic. And this has that little flavor of it. So let's look at some of these runes.
It is kind of like the fighter version of the wizard order of the scribes, right? Just not as bookish.
Yeah, kind of the jock scribe.
And it's important to remember, every one of these runes does 2 things. And that's what I think is so fun.
Yeah, so every time you finish a long rest, you can touch objects and inscribe runes onto each of them. So if you know 2 runes, you can touch 2 objects, and so on. To be eligible, an object must be a weapon, a suit of armor, a shield, a piece of jewelry, or something else that you can wear or hold. The rune remains until you finish a long rest, and an object can only bear 1 rune at a time. So let's start with the Cloud rune. And all these runes have fields of different types of giants, feeding into that giant theme. So there's the Cloud rune to start.
Very steeped in the lore of giants, and also the artwork, which I love, is and I became obsessed with the work that Richard Witters did on the Viking, on these sorry, not the Viking runes, the giant runes. And he designed them, and he was kind enough to actually send me the rest of the runes that maybe had or not been used. It's very much a big lore dive into D&D, especially when you consider Storm King's Thunder.
Right, this is a great character to play in Storm King's Thunder, or maybe even in Tyranny of Dragons, because dragons and giants are quite intertwined in the lore of the Forgotten Realms. So
tell me about Cloud Rune.
Cloud Rune. It emulates the deceptive magic used by cloud giants. So while wearing or carrying an object inscribed with the rune, you have advantage on dexterity, sleight of hand, and charisma deception checks. Good, a nice sort of duplicitous fighter. But also, when you or a creature that you can see within 30 feet of you is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to invoke the rune and choose a different creature within 30 feet who then becomes the target of the attack. Can't be the attacker, but someone else. The magic can transfer the attack's effects regardless of the attack's range. And once you invoke the rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or a long rest. I can just imagine, this dragon bearing its fangs down on your wizard, and you throw your hands forward and like this sort of cloudy portal swirls about, and the dragon's head shoots through the portal, and another portal appears and it chomps down on a horde of its kobold minions and retracts. The visual description here, I think, is one of the great fun elements of playing this class.
And I love me a no save, as long as you're not using against, as long as you're not using against your fellow players. I should say. But yeah, like this is like very effective in combat. I love that it all plays together. You have advantage on sleight of hand, you got advantage on deception, and you have advantage on basically deceiving someone into attacking someone else.
How do you bring up a really good point, though, actually, about on fellow players? Because obviously this is best in an encounter where there's multiple enemies you can get to smack each other. But if you're just fighting a solo boss, then you may have to really consider what party member am I going to redirect this to? Right. If you've got a tank in the party, a raging barbarian who's only going to take half damage, then there's a great plan.
Yeah, and also interesting you could even, if someone in the group has Sentinel, maybe there's some kind of synergy there, and maybe you've got a tanky warlock that wants to drop some, that actually has Armor of Agathis on, so it's got that frost damage ready to soak up damage, but then also Hellish Rebuke. I mean, that's like just a warlock and the Rune Knight just going, okay, buddy, come on. Which one of us are you going to hit?
I mean,
one of us is going to be loaded up with Eldritch energy just waiting for you to hit him. It's going to get rough.
I think that's a great way to set traps with this class. A very smart, tactical way to play.
Yeah.
Next up.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, next up, the Fire Rune.
Yeah, I like the Fire Rune is quite interesting. Obviously, this is about the fire giants who are known for smithing. So the rune magic channels a masterful kind of craftsmanship of these great smiths. While you're wearing an object that has this rune, your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check that makes you use a proficiency with a tool. So that is, again, kind of artificer light. So you're great using tools. It makes sense. You're also a rune carver, so you're kind of in this ballpark anyways. In addition, when you hit a creature, when you're attacking with a weapon, you can invoke the rune to summon fiery shackles. I love this because I would never expect this. So these fiery shackles hit the target. They take 2d6 fire damage and must succeed on a strength saving throw or be restrained for up to 1 minute. While restrained by the shackles, the target takes 2d6 fire damage at the start of each of its turns. The target can, of course, repeat these saving throws, trying to get out of the shackles while this is going on. You can do this again after you finish a short or long rest. I love this. This shuts someone down. Again, kind of an artificer vibe in the sense that you're just like, nope, you've been arrested by my giant magic. So very, very fun and interesting.
I think you're right in that there's something really interesting about this in the way that it's unexpected. Fire, you think of uncontrolled wildfire, but there is an element to control when fire is involved. If you're a smith, you don't want the fire overtaking your forge. If you're building a campfire out in the woods, you build a ring of stones around it to keep it from spreading. The idea that fire can be used to lock down foes. Maybe even these shackles aren't raw fire, but they're like superheated metal.
Molten, fresh out of the forge.
Yeah, then that is just an extra wrinkle of flavor that takes us from being, something that could be kind of trite to something that's more thought-provoking. And I think it's quite fun.
Yep. So that brings us to the Frost Rune. Break down the Frost Rune for me.
Frost Rune. It evokes the might of those who survive in the wintry wilderness, like frost giants. While you're holding or carrying an object inscribed with the rune, you have advantage on wisdom animal handling checks and charisma intimidation checks. So a great rune for a Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign. In addition, invoking the rune as a bonus action increases your sturdiness. For 10 minutes, you gain a +2 bonus to all checks and saving throws that use strength or constitution. And once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or a long rest. See, this is the sort of thing that you might expect to have some kind of lockdown effect, freeze an enemy. But no, it's more about it's less about the cold of the ice around you and more about the sort of internal fortitude you need to survive it.
Yeah, the harshness of that environment to get through the mountains, through that snow, through that Arctic tundra. You gotta be tough, and this is what the Frost Rune's all about. That brings us to the Stone Rune. Now, stone giants are fun because they're kind of quirky in the sense that they don't believe anything outside of their cave is actually real. They think it's all a dream, which makes stone giants very fun and also very terrifying for players.
Very weird, because it's one of those cool bits of weird fantasy that keeps D&D from being totally that keeps it from being generic any other sort of fantasy.
Absolutely.
There's just the weird little bits of incision. So about the Stone Rune.
It's a good example for subclass design. Like, you know what? Fiery shackles.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. So the Stone Rune, the rune's magic channels this the judiciousness of associated with stone giants. While you're wearing any object that's inscribed with this rune, you have advantage, and you're going to see this again and again with skill checks. And I love that this is very much a skill fighter. Probably the most skill-based fighter ever designed. So what we're looking at,
it also gives them dark vision too.
Oh yeah, so we've got with the Stone Rune, we have advantage on wisdom insight checks, and you also have now dark vision up to 120 feet. That's quite a distance. That's really advantageous. You're going to see your enemies from not a mile away, but from a good ways.
One thing I like about this is that it's useful not just for like humans who are born without dark vision, but most other people only have 60 feet of dark vision. So it's an improvement no matter what.
Yeah, and there's no finickiness where you're having like, okay, I already had dark vision of 60 feet or 30 feet. I'm adding it to the 120 feet. We've seen that kind of language before in earlier subclasses. This is, okay, let's go for the full 120 no matter what. There's an advantage. You don't have to do extra math on this. In addition, when a creature you see ends its turn within 30 feet of you, you can use your reaction to invoke your Stone Rune, and you force them to make a wisdom saving throw. Unless the saving throw succeeds, the creature is charmed by you for up to a minute. While charmed in this way, the creature has a speed of 0 and is incapacitated, descending into a dreamy stupor. The creature repeats the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. Again, short or long rest, you can get this ability back. This shuts things down.
And like attacking or harming the creature does not break this charm. They're just lost in a dream while everyone kind of circles around them and starts like punching them while they're down. This is wild.
It's a little stunning strike. It's a little stunning strike, isn't it?
And it just lasts and lasts and lasts unless they can succeed on that saving throw.
So the charmed condition cannot, let's see, a charmed creature cannot, it can attack the charmer or target the charmer with any harmful abilities or magical effects, and the charmer has advantage on ability checks to interact socially with that creature.
This is a really interesting thing because incapacitated just means it can't take actions or reactions. As far as the game mechanics here are aware, and a DM can adjudicate this however they want, this creature is still rather conscious. It's in a dreamy stupor, but it's somewhat perceptive of the world around it. And since it's charmed, you could almost you could see a fighter trying to like incept an idea into their mind while they're lost in dream. They're hypnotized almost, and you kneel down in front of them and you're like, you are my friend. I want you to go to Castle Waterdeep and attack the Open Lord. And they're like, well, my friend, there's a sort of like encouragement element to this. It isn't just combat crowd control.
Again, and I'm just flat out saying it. This is my favorite fighter. It just is. There's so much versatility here baked in and so much choice.
I love this fighter. I want to see if the Psy Knight will take top spot for me, but this one's pretty dang cool.
I mean, I've been playing various iterations of the Rune Knight for 2 years.
Yeah,
and I do love this. I have my sweet boy Torvin, who has a nice luxurious beard, who is very attached to that beard and oiling it every day and carving runes. Very obsessed with his appearance. So I'm excited to like wheel Torvin back out. Also, make tall goblins, because that's going to come up later.
So these next 2 runes are only available when you reach 7th level or higher.
And I cannot agree with this decision more. Honestly, there was a lot of room for the Rune Knight to be very dangerous. So just describe the Hill Rune and why is the Hill Rune not available till 7th?
So the Hill Rune bestows the resilience of a hill giant upon you. While you're wearing this rune, you have advantage on saves against being poisoned and resistance against poison damage. Nice. Shame if you're a dwarf, but oh well. In addition, you can invoke the rune as a bonus action to gain resistance to all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for a minute. Great.
Yep.
and there's no clause about it being non-magical or anything like that. Much like a raging barbarian.
Right.
You gain this power. And that's a really important distinction, because barbarians are one of the tankiest classes in the game, at least when it comes to their own survival. Fighters generally are much more about dealing damage rather than taking it, though they can certainly do both. Yeah. And the fact that this is available at 7th level rather than right at the low levels kind of protects the barbarian's class identity a little bit and gives the fighter something to strive for. I think this is a good decision.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this really does kind of, again, I mean, when you think about what, I see the poison, having advantage on saving throws against poison is like a hill giant will eat anything. So that's where I feel that comes from. And then obviously, like, you're a hill giant. Like,
yeah, you're big. You take hits. It's what you do. Let's talk about the Storm Rune.
Yeah. So this is the sweet stuff. For me
Storm
personally,
giants are like the kings of the giants, basically.
They are kings of the giants. Again, this makes sense for 7th level. When you use this rune, you can glimpse the future like a storm giant seer. While wearing or carrying this object that's inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on Arcana checks. And you can't be surprised as long as you are not incapacitated. Nasty stuff.
Usually you have to take a feat for that.
Yeah. In addition, you can invoke the rune as a bonus action to have a prophetic state for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. Until that state ends, when you or another creature can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll or a saving throw or an ability check, you can use your reaction to cause the roll to have advantage or disadvantage. Once you invoke this rune, again, short, long rest. I don't feel that this is incredibly powerful necessarily. You are handing advantage to someone at 7th level. That's really great, especially if you got a rogue in the party. It's not as fearsome as say I would say as the Hill Rune, perhaps, but I mean this is also a fighter who is very much a party player.
Yeah, team player stuff. I think this is really cool. This is the sort of thing I'd have to see in play before I could really pass a judgment on it. But the ability to just give advantage or disadvantage as a reaction every single round can't be understated.
Yeah, that is it's some strong stuff. You're right.
Mhm.
We're not past third level for the rune.
We've talked about some higher level runes, but they've still got third level class features to talk about. I think this is a favorite of yours, Todd, isn't it? The Giant's Might.
Yeah, it is. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'5". So Giant's Might is what you want in this class in the first place. You've learned to make yourself big. You can take a bonus action and you become one size larger. You gain the might of the giants. So if you're smaller than large, you become large, along with everything that you're wearing. So your weapon, your axe, whatever, your spear becomes large with you. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, and once on each of your turns, one of your attacks with a weapon or unarmed strike can deal 1d6 damage extra on a hit. It makes sense for this only to happen once, because this could be very much min-maxed with other classes in a very dangerous way. So you can use this feature a number of times, equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get this back after a long rest. This is great. You just become big. I mean, this is what you want. And it's, if you want to do some grappling, which I tend not to grapple in D&D, I don't find it to be terribly advantageous, but that sight of the tiny little goblin or the tiny little halfling suddenly just going boom, large, has to be terrifying on some level.
Yeah.
Tell me about Runic Shield. This is, again, a big party player fighter.
Yeah, so starting at 7th level, you learn to invoke rune magic to protect your allies. When another creature you can see within 60 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to basically force the attacker to do the roll again. And if it misses, it misses. If it hits, well, it still hits. And you can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Another feature that keys up proficiency bonus. It's a team player ability. It's kind of like the protection style, but better, really, at range. It doesn't have a shield requirement. You can do it all the way over there. And there's something, it's not disadvantage, though it kind of functions as it. It's a re-roll, which means that any advantage or disadvantage effects on the roll still apply.
Yeah.
So if, for instance, the roll was already affected by disadvantage and it's just a lucky roll, you can say, well, temper your expectations. Let's do it all over again.
I'll take it, if it's me being hit or not.
Yeah.
I do think this is pretty fun. And when you consider this being used with the other rune abilities, you really are like deciding, like, are you hitting that? Are you not hitting that? Like, you're really manipulating the battlefield in a lot of ways and protecting your people. Now, at 10th level, we've got great stature. The magic of your runes permanently alters you. When you gain this feature, you roll 3d4 and you grow a number of inches equal to this roll. Okay. And then on top of this, moreover, which is a very good way to start a sentence, moreover, the extra damage you deal with the giant might feature increases to 1d8. So that's scaling up with you nicely. Remember, you're a fighter, you're getting a lot of extra enhancements, ability and score enhancements as well along the way. Lots of potential to get feats. So tell me about Master of Runes.
Master of Runes. You can invoke each rune that you know. You can invoke each rune that you know from your rune cover feature twice rather than once and regain all expended uses when you finish a short or a long rest. So this is actually a game changer. In one little sentence, it almost completely changes the way you play, because not only do you just get it once per short rest, you get it twice per short rest, which means that if you're using your hill rune, then you don't have to save it for that perfect moment. You can deploy it at any old combat that you think might be getting dangerous, and then keep that last one in reserve. If you're using your fire rune, you don't have to choose the perfect enemy. You just have to choose a good enemy. And that's... It's hard to state how much is like one extra use of each of your runes changes the way that you think about them.
It's a huge benefit. I mean, it's almost a capstone.
Yeah.
To suddenly be like, okay, I mean, imagine being a spellcaster of some kind and be like, you know what, you get double that. You get double as many spell slots for when you hit 15th. Or it's kind of like the action surge for the Rune Knight, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, and on top of that, I mean, you get action surge too because you're a fighter anyway. So
exactly. So which is again, why you probably are not getting that extra 1d8 or 1d6 to every time you attack something. Gets kind of rough. And I believe the wording on that is your turn, correct? When it comes to Giant's Might, once on each of your turns. So there's no sneakiness you can do with Sentinel necessarily to get a little bit of extra damage, like one is apt to do with a rogue.
Speaking of Giant's Might, there's an upgrade to it at 18th level, the Runic Juggernaut.
Yeah. So go ahead and run us through this.
Essentially, you improve your Runic Juggernaut. You get bigger. You become a huge creature instead of a large one. Your reach increases by 5 feet. Todd, you were talking about like goblins and kobolds using this feature going from 3 feet tall to 10 feet tall. Well, now you're 15, 18, 20 feet tall. And your reach has increased by 5 feet. And your Giant's Might damage has increased to 1d10 again. There's not a lot to talk about here other than the fact that now you are truly giant-sized. Like a hill giant, you are huge and you tower over other people in a way that just, frankly, inspires fear and awe.
This makes me very, very happy because originally in the Giant Soul Sorcerer Unearthed Arcana a couple of years ago, you could become huge at the end of it. It was changed in UA when you were with the Rune Knight in Unearthed Arcana that you were able to cause someone else in your party to also become large. I like this dream of finally becoming huge. I want to wrestle a Trask. I just want to go huge. And also, I want to start calculating weird spells that maybe would layer into that. I want to create that miniature, and I am going to do this. I'm going to make Torvin my medium-sized character. I'm going to make Torvin my large-sized character. And I've done this in Hero Forge many a time. And then I'm going to have Torvin, the huge character. I'm going to ping all of them. And I don't know why I find this charming. I just, how do you not want to do it?
Yeah. It's fantastic. The Rune Knight has a lot of choice and a lot of just strong features that kind of scale up as you level up. I think this fighter is just very, very fun.
It's just really fun. It's great at skills. It's got a little bit of magic. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got choice. You're huge. There's nothing not to love, I feel like, with the Rune Knight. It is my favorite fighter, hands down. Thank you so much, D&D. I love it. I really do love it. I'm sorry. I am unabashedly love this. It's got a little bit of everything I love about combat in D&D, and the fact that your skills are enhanced also like pushes over the edge for me. You don't have to be good at everything. You just need a little bit of an advantage.
Sounds like we're repeating ourselves. We know exactly what we like about this.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching. That is our take on the Rune Knight. That is in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. That is available right now on D&D Beyond. And if you order right now, you get some Cauldron dice, which are very spooky and creepy and cool, as well as a lot of extra features on D&D Beyond. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, James Haeck, our lead writer at D&D Beyond. Have a great day.
Until next time.
Tasha's Cauldron of Everything is available now on D&D Beyond. Purchase before January 5th to unlock the Cauldron dice set, as well as character sheet backdrops, themes and frames.